Hunter x Hunter and One Piece are considered to be the greatest shonen of all time, standing atop the rest in the eyes of so many as two giants in the anime space. And today we're gonna go through the weeds and figure out which one of the two is better. Now the narrative of both of these is pretty stellar. I mean, we're literally talking about Hunter x Hunter and One Piece, and it's one of the only times you can make this debate between the two actually fair because neither are finished. That being said, Hunter x Hunter did cut off at a very natural point compared to One Piece that probably has 5 to 7 years left, but Oda did say the manga was ending in 2025, so by Oda math that means it should end in around 2030. But another thing that makes this comparison so easy is the distinction in arcs as well as the length of the arcs. Of course, Hunter x Hunter is shorter, like a lot shorter, like all of Wano is the length of Hunter x Hunter, but Hunter x Hunter does have the same basic setup as One Piece in terms of going into a new area, exploring everything about it, the plot activates, and then you go on. Heaven's Arena, which ties in Nen and Hisoka, compared to One Piece where you're going arc to arc, liberating kingdoms and islands. And just like Luffy finding the One Piece is the underlying or overlying, whatever that would be, narrative of the story, the connecting thread of Hunter x Hunter is finding Jin. Is it Jing or Jing? I'm gonna go with Jin. And all the deeper character stories come from there. Everything orbits around Gon and Killua learning more about the world and Nen and their relationship and their change as characters. We see Killua becoming more human because he was an absolute menace at the beginning of the story. Like, we're talking ruthless on crack. Like, he made demons shiver in the night. And then that's mixing in Jin, the Phantom Trope, Hisoka, Kurapika, everything in Hunter x Hunter. It all feels connected and you understand all the players in the world. I think what's important is you can understand if you take Gon and Killua out of this world, the world is still alive, and that's not true in a lot of different anime. The Chimera Ant arc, ironically enough, feels like the peak of that, and I think it's demonstrated that by showing how quickly a climactic apocalyptic event can happen and how the world of Hunter x Hunter is going to react to it. R.I.P. Kite and Netero, though, they were trying to stand on business. They tried and they failed. But One Piece, it can be hard to get that connection because a lot of the times the islands feel so individual and the overlying plot of the story isn't always the most connected. Now Oda does a good job mitigating this with character tie-ins like Vivi and Shirahoshi maintaining relevance, as well as Bellamy having an appearance in Dressrosa, and it would be unreasonable to expect all these characters to magically have the same amount of depth as our main characters, but the story does suffer from it because the pacing slows down. You still are spending a lot of time with these side characters that are likely never going to come back in a significant manner, and in the short run it is beneficial, but when you look back on it, you're like, did I really need to spend all that time in Tantata Kingdom? I also don't know if I pronounced that right, but that part of the arc was so annoying. Like, Jesus Christ, that was almost as bad as the birdcage. And also, the biggest deficit of the story of One Piece is that every single arc feels the same. The Save the Kingdom aspect of One Piece is getting really old. That being said, Egghead is definitely different and a change of tone, but I can't ignore the similarities between Alabasta, Dressrosa, Wano, Whole Cake to an extent, but you can recite a One Piece arc like the back of your hand. Although they each have their own flavor, it's too similar in a lot of ways, like Luffy encountering the villain 1 to 2 times before losing, and then a huge fight at the end where he wins, liberates everyone with the militia terrorist group that he's supporting. Ultimately, that leads me to believe Hunter x Hunter has a better overall narrative, but just to note, the character section / character stories is all entirely different section, which is why I didn't mention any of them, and that's a huge analysis. But next up is the animation. Now, to be fair, Hunter x Hunter did end in 2014, and that is when Dressrosa was being aired, so animation is obviously not the most important piece of criteria in general, but I think I prefer Hunter x Hunter, but it really doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't look like shit, for me personally, I'm fine with it. I'm not a big critique, so if you think One Piece, whatever, but it doesn't matter. Now to the world. Now, there isn't many worlds that can go head to head with One Piece, but Hunter x Hunter is definitely one of them. Every single island in One Piece is unique and based off a real location, or it's just like completely crazy and out of the world, like Egghead and Whole Cake. You could go as far to say that this is the most well-developed world in all of fiction, from the warlord function early in the story to the world government taking over and the emperors. Everything is thought of in this way that the progression through the Grand Line feels natural and intense, and you know that Luffy is going to be fighting stronger enemies as you go on, and it leaves you wondering, is Zoro ready for this part of the story? What is Usopp gonna do? Has he leveled up enough? It's a real interesting dynamic, the whole power scaling playing into the world part. I hate power scaling, by the way. It's gotten so crazy that when a sword or flag is teased at the end of a panel or the end of the episode, the fans immediately know something is about to go down. The faction nature of One Piece also was really intense. Although it fed the fires to the flame of every arc being the same from a world perspective, though, it was definitely cool. And in terms of design, the likes of Whole Cake, Wano, Dressrosa, Elbaf, Egghead. Like, come on. Like, these are sick. No one's gonna dispute that. Now, Hunter x Hunter got hands though. York New City is sick. The mob aesthetic of New York itself, that arc definitely elevates the series as a whole. And then the organizations and factions, where this world really just steps up to another level. The Phantom trope is seemingly the biggest and the baddest, and the Hunters also have this crazy function and government system within them, and the different types of Hunters as well. Everything is really interesting and deep and has a lot of depth. Kurapika being up for hire as well, leading to this whole connecting quest that gets him to the trope. Everything was sick and well thought out. Heaven's Arena is so goddamn cool, especially the tournament arc aspect of it, moving up the tower. Greed Island, although it was probably the weakest arc, it was pretty damn insane having an entire isekai within the shonen anime that was more well developed than most isekai in general. Like we spoke on earlier, the Chimera Ant arc area is such a feat of world design of building a genuinely scary area that leaves the audience trembling, and the built-in responses as well, like the whole reaction from the Hunters to official to the Phantom trope going and retaking their land. It was perfect. Everything with Killua's family and their history. Hunter x Hunter may not be as big as One Piece, but it definitely has the depth to match it. Ultimately, I would edge it out to One Piece. Likely has some form of bias due to the overstimulation of having so many episodes and arcs of One Piece, but everything being so thought out and connected through the vast amount of time pairing up with the cool designs and creativity, it goes to One Piece for me. Next is the power systems, and they're pretty clear for both of them, and it's funny how power systems work, because the more complicated it gets, I feel like the audience just starts to tune it out. Like when you hear the JJK narrator comes on, you're like, ooh, I think it's time to just sit back and enjoy the fight. And the flip side of that is like, we're gonna make this so simple, literally anybody off the street can understand who we want to win, who is going to win, whose power is what. I'm talking about you, Demon Slayer. One Piece is definitely closer to the simple area, and Hunter x Hunter is closer to the complicated, but they're not at the poles of these axes. But hockey not being in a large part of One Piece is definitely strange. It shouldn't be held against them too bad. There are a lot of hockey moments that seem arbitrary though, applying the whole who the author wants to win will win philosophy really hard at times. Now the Hunter x Hunter system is complicated, but I feel I understand it for the most part. I do like it more because it doesn't grant you instant win, but it still leads to setbacks and setups that have cool and interesting moments. But I really don't care about power systems in any anime, to be honest, as long as it's not like stupid. I don't really think this matters in which one is better, but it's 2024. Who cares about like power scaling videos at all? Now we get to the fights. Yes, where we can shut our brains off and just watch. Wait, what? Hunter narrator, back off. I'm just trying to watch the show. Well, Hunter x Hunter fights are definitely insane. Everything happening in like 30 seconds or whatever it is pretty crazy. And One Piece has the typical anime flashback a lot of screaming, power up again. It's great, but they do go the more common route. In both One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, our main cast can get their ass beat too, especially when they were saying Gon and Killua were way too weak to enter the Chimera zone. It was pretty wild seeing them get messed up in that situation. Even the dimensions of those Heaven's Arena fights were sick and pretty creative as well. When they power up in Hunter x Hunter, it's also so over the top and so rare too that the impact really lets the audience know like something is about to go down. The integration of story into fights is obviously top tier for both. I mean, Hunter x Hunter did it so well that the volleyball match had the same intensity as any fight in Demon Slayer. That was a joke. Relax. But One Piece builds you up to this huge moment at the end, and so much time is spent with the side characters that you get this huge emotional investment into the battle, whereas Hunter x Hunter generally has more of an intensity factor. Like when they were fighting against the Prince Ants, there was this feeling of like, hustle up, you gotta get this done now. And then Netero versus Marium still has the hype crazy anime shit with the deep themes like we all love, like hard work and valuing life. Everything that makes a medium cool and dramatic was packed into that arc. One Piece has epic fights, but they suffer from being really long, and I mean really long. Luffy vs Katakuri is over 20 episodes. Luffy vs Kaido is like, holy shit, that's longer than some animes. Ultimately, the ends are pretty sick, but somehow in these fights, it almost feels like Luffy doesn't deserve to win because of how many tries it takes, and as an audience member, that removes that intensity. I lose my patience also sitting through all of those episodes of a single fight, so ultimately, I gotta go Hunter x Hunter because it's just a lot more dense. Just in case you're about to lose it and you're typing out some crazy message, we are talking about two of the greatest pieces of anime ever created. So everything is relative. Me saying Hunter x Hunter fights are better doesn't mean One Piece fights are worse than like 7 Deadly Sins fights. But the last major point of comparison has to be the characters, and oh boy, this is where they both just go crazy. But before we get to that, if you could leave a like and subscribe, these videos take a long time to make and I hope you're enjoying them, so let me know what you want to see next and let's get back to it. So obviously One Piece has a lot of characters, like such an insane abundance, it doesn't make any sense. But what makes that even crazier is you can pick out any random one of them and they probably written with more depth than any character in Demon Slayer. Sorry Demon Slayer fans, I don't know why I'm picking on you today. From Kriros, Vivi, Pound, Dory and Bragi, Senor Pink, Carrot, Kinemon, and I haven't even named a Straw Hat. Whereas Hunter x Hunter, everyone is characterized well in their screen time and not everything is as spelled out as it is in One Piece, but there's a sudden realization that hits you when you watch Hunter x Hunter that blows you away. As the story is coming to its climax in Hunter x Hunter, there's a shift in energy, a change. All of a sudden, this plot-driven story changes focus. All of a sudden, you go from thinking destroying the ants, learning about Nen, defeating the Phantom Trope. No, that is not what you're supposed to be looking for. At some point, you realize that Gon and Killua aren't just vessels reacting to the story, they are the story. Their relationship is what we're supposed to be focused on. Gon seems like the cheery, innocent protagonist that is typical for every shonen, and Killua seems like that batshit crazy sidekick that has no morals. But in that moment Gon confronts Pitou, you realize that Gon is the crazy one and Killua is the normal one. Killua learning to care about his friends, where Gon has lost his sense of self. And although their journey was how the story progressed, you realize their relationship is what pushed the story further. This is all further pushed when Killua is racing to find a solution to Gon basically being dead, as well as a farewell at the end with Killua and Gon leaving each other. They've learned how to become human during this time, learned how to care for others, and learned what it means to live. And that push and shift in these characters is huge, and not to mention across both One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, everything needed of high class characters is there. Unique designs, good backstories, distinct morals, those are all given. These two anime have characters of such class that the only way to think about this is by going into the deeper themes. Even in One Piece, the likes of Zoro being the epitome of loyalty, Sanji losing everything in life and not wanting to lose his friends, Luffy wanting to be the freest of all, learning the harsh consequences of life, Nico Robin, do I even need to explain the level of depth there? With every side character, every main character, every antagonist being the pinnacle of their class, there's no other thing for me to do but say One Piece and Hunter x Hunter are equal in characters. I know everyone hates a tie, but come on, look at what we're talking about here. But it's time for me to state which I think is better. When it comes to something like this, there isn't any easy option or clear route. And although there were some choices made, not everything is weighed evenly and personal preference comes into account. And both of these stories made me feel something and shift my whole perspective on how deep a battle shonen could be. So without further ado, I have to say that I think Hunter x Hunter is better. One Piece is a grand narrative with deep characters, a great story, and good fights, but the repetition and lack of stakes is what makes One Piece fall flat for me. Characters don't die often, arcs follow the same movements, and yes, those are very, very good movements, but I would rather watch an anime try and be different and fail than do the same thing and come off as formulaic. Hunter x Hunter can feel like you're watching 8 different anime in one, and has intense moment after intense moment with stakes that matter, as well as a style and flair to it that not a lot of other anime have. Putting these two head to head was always going to cause issues, and I'm sure the comments are going to be left unsatisfied, but perhaps this debate on JJK versus One Piece will change your mind. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget, we're just getting started, we're going to stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.